Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to The Beast On. I am The Beast, Brian London. What's The Beast On today? The Beast On today is about that age-old argument we have. No, not the chicken versus the egg, although we could do that video too. It's about coaches versus players. Because whenever we talk about a team that is not succeeding, that is failing on the field, do we blame the coaches? Do we fire them? Is it the players' fault? And there's good arguments on both sides. So I just wanted to get into the dichotomy of that argument because it seems to be prevalent. Now, a lot of you that have watched my videos are Canes fans, so you're going to understand that that's probably where I'm getting my idea for this argument, but it really goes to all sports. And I think, as you move up, in other words, there's a difference between college level, NFL level, right? The NFL level, while coaches tend to get blamed very often for the success or not success of their teams, there's a lot of other factors like the GMs picking the players, and also in the NFL, players are adults. They're actual adults. And if they're not doing their job and not doing the stuff they need to do off the field, then it's a little more of their responsibility because they're adults. But when it comes to college, though, we're still fostering kids. That's what we're doing in college. Even at the highest levels of college football, even though they look like men or women, they're still kids. I mean, think about when you were at that age. Maybe you're that age now and you're lucky. And how many boneheaded things did you do? A lot. But that doesn't excuse coaches. Just because, your kids might be young and immature and not doing exactly what they need to do doesn't leave you off the hook. There's a couple of different analogies we can use. The teacher and the student, who's to blame when a kid is not succeeding in school? Is it the teacher's fault? Is it the student's fault? The only factor there is, and I was talking with my wife about that, who's a teacher, is that you have the parents, right? The parents are supposed to be the ones that are fostering that kid at home so that when they get to school, they can learn. And in a lot of cases, that doesn't happen. And when you're a teacher and you're getting no backup from a parent at home, your job is made exponentially tougher. But when it comes to coaching college football, you're not really relying on the parents to teach your star cornerback when he's got to go back and be in coverage on a play, right? You're not relying on the parent to do that. So there's a little, that aspect of it is not involved in the age-old argument of coach versus player. The other analogy is a CEO and a company. When a company doesn't perform well on a wide level, the CEO is usually held responsible, right? The manager is let go. The CEO is let go. Now, it may be true that each individual department has workers that don't get their job done, and that's hurting the business as a whole. And, you try to weed out those workers that aren't getting it done. But when it comes to consistent inconsistency, then the person at the top needs to be held responsible, right? A fish stinks at the head, that sort of thing. So I know a lot of people out there, and one example is our good friend, former Miami Hurricane, former NFL player, Rashad Butler. He's always saying, listen, it's the players. The players got to do their job. They got to study the film. They got to work out. They got to know the plays. They got to do their job. And that is true. But you know what? In college, there's a lot of... the big programs have a lot of people helping out, right? They got the head coach, they got all the assistants, then all the operations people, then all the grad assistants, then all the academics help, and all the compliance help, and there's people everywhere. The nutrition help, the medical help, there's people everywhere to help these kids succeed. And when they don't, yeah, you can put it on them. But when a team fails on a widespread area, then it's got to go to the coaching. Like, if your team's talented, but the offense just can't get right, sure, you can start blaming every member of the offense. But if you know there's talent there, then it's the offensive coordinator. It's like not putting them in the right position to win. And the University of Miami figured that out, and Dan Enos is gone, and Rhett Lashley is in. When your secondary isn't performing well, or your linebackers aren't performing well, or your defensive line, or your offensive line, whatever position, then you may have to fire that coach. When a team doesn't perform well on a widespread level, year after year, because I don't think you can make any big judgments based on 1 year of a head coach's life, unless it's like a 0-win season and the program is completely out of control. You don't fire a coach after 1 year. But if what happened in year 1 continues in year 2 and there's no improvement, then it's not the players, right? It's the coach. So, I've been on both sides of this. Back when I was on the Miami Hurricanes broadcast team, and I did the pregame and the sideline, and I hosted the postgame, and I took all the angry phone calls, I tended to defend the coaches because a lot of times I'd meet with the coaches during the week or see some film or what have you, and they'd point out, listen, this guy's out of position. We told him to do this. He didn't do this. And, I was like, hey, Larry Coker, Randy Shannon, they're doing their job. I was sitting there. They told me, I saw what that player is supposed to do, and he didn't do that. It's not the coach's fault. It's the player's fault. But fans didn't want to hear that, right? They just knew the team was losing games they shouldn't have lost. And so I've been there. And now, coming full swing, coming around again, it's like, yes, the players have to do that, but the more I'm away from college, the more I am getting older and more mature, more experienced, I understand that the average college kid needs a big kick in the butt to get going in the right direction. Because God knows I couldn't do it when I was 18 to 22. I needed help along the way to make it through college. So why shouldn't the athletes? And that's where selecting the right head coach and the right assistants comes into play. Because yes, those kids are very talented, but if they don't have the person that's at the top that's going to put them in the right position to win, then it's going to be hard. You can ask for all the leadership in the locker room you want, and the great Miami teams, the great Alabama teams, the great Clemson teams, the great teams from Ohio State, whatever school you want to mention. Yes, I guarantee you they had a locker room that policed themselves. Guys got on each other. Guys pushed each other. And that's going to happen on teams. But if you don't have the right head coach and the right assistants, then after a while, that locker room policing, all of that stuff, that's not going to make a difference. It needs to be a combination of both. And maybe throughout this argument, I'm sitting on the fence of whether it's the coach or the player's fault. But, you really need to have that good combination. But I really do think when it comes to the college game, because we're not talking about adults yet, that we could treat these kids like adults, but they're not. When did you feel like an adult is the question. I don't know if I still do. I don't know if I do yet, and I'm 43. That's a whole different problem. But certainly in the college game, I think your staff and your head coach are vitally important to your program. And they set the tone. And if they set the right tone, then the players can take it amongst themselves or upon themselves to step up and be in positions of leadership. But if the leaders of the team aren't getting the leadership they need from the assistants and the head coach and everybody else, they're going to fail when they try to police the locker room and do that stuff themselves. It needs to all come together, and it starts with the head coach. It really does. So a team like Miami that just reeled off a 6-7 year in Manny Diaz's first year, it's pretty unacceptable, but it's his first year. So let's see what happens in year 2. But if there's not dramatic improvement, right? Like, you can't just go out in 2020 and win 7 games. Like, that's not going to get it done. You're going to, unfortunately, you're not right for the job, and you're going to lose your job. So, I don't know what the win total is, whether it's 10, whether it's winning the Coastal, whether it's 9. I don't know what it is, but certainly it's better than 6. And I know a lot of people want to blame the players, and there's guys that that need to get out of the program, and certainly there is. There can be toxic situations, and if guys don't want to be there, then they should hit the transfer portal. If guys can't get their head on straight, then they should hit the transfer portal. If guys can't get in because of curfew, if guys are drunk or high and all that stuff, then get the hell out of town. Like, fine, that's when players are a problem. But if there's a ton of cases of that, if you're just not winning, then it goes beyond 1 or 2 or 3 toxic players or players that can't get their ish together. It goes to the head coach. So that's my thought on that. So we'll give Manny another year, but it better get better, because ultimately it comes down to who is the CEO of the team, and that is the head coach. All right, that'll do it for me. Do me a favor, please follow me on the social at Miami Radio Beast. Please subscribe to the channel right there. Hit the subscribe button. You can also ring the bell. That's right over there, I believe. Ring the bell. You'll get notified when there's a new video up. And that way it'll let you know there's new content. And who knows what it'll be. It may not be sports. It may not be about my life. It may be, who knows, a movie review. You never know. So follow me on the social media at Miami Radio Beast. Subscribe. Hit the bell. And please, I got to keep the lights on, so if you could support me on Patreon, I'd really greatly appreciate it. Patreon.com/Brian the Beast London is the Patreon page. That'll do it for me and everybody here in my guest bedroom, which is no one but me. I need to get a haircut, man. What's going on here? All right, I'll see you when I see you. Peace.